Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Happy Wednesday. It's Wednesday, and it is another day for our community conversations. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are going to have a very insightful conversation with my guest. But before we do that, good evening. Hi, how are you doing tonight? I am Atanya Jean Funny, your audacious advocate and candidate running for County Commissioner for District 3 in Clayton County, Georgia. Thank you for joining me tonight. Before I get started, I got to remind everyone that municipal elections is going on right now. So, what does that mean? That means that if you live in the city limits, there's a possibility that there is a mayoral race or some city council people for you to go vote for. So the next question may be, well, do I live in the city limits? Because some of us don't know. Okay. Um, just because your address may say Jonesboro doesn't exactly mean you live in the city limits of Jonesboro. Um, our addresses is basically where we get our mail service from. So wherever our post office is, that's the address it's going to say. So how do I find out? Hey, Siobhan, how do I find out where exactly if I live in the city limits? Glad you asked. So if you Google myvoterpage.com or mvp.sos.ga.gov, you go down to view my precinct card. It's going to be on the second page. View my precinct card. And once you view your precinct card, it will say county precinct name, polling place. Okay, so that's for the county, but we're not talking about the county right now. We'll be talking about the county in May. The next one says municipal. Okay, if you see a polling place and a precinct name under municipal, you live in the city limits. Go vote. Okay. If you do not see a name there in a polling location, you do not live in the city limits. Now, I know that there are some competitive races going on. These cities in Clayton County, they need to hear from you if you live in the city limits. That is Jonesboro, College Park, Riverdale, and Morrow. Okay, all competitive races. As far as I know, there are no challengers for Lake City, Lovejoy, and possibly Forest Park. Okay, not exactly for sure about Forest Park, but check it out. All right, so please go vote if you live within the city limits. That is the municipal races that are going on right now. It is early voting right now. Okay. Also, I am here to assist you with your Medicare. Okay. I am a licensed insurance broker and I can assist you. So if you are eligible for Medicare, and there are some people that are under 65 that are on Medicare. Okay. So if you need to sign up for your annual enrollment, please message me so I can assist you with those things right about now. Or you can make an appointment at ajflifeandhealth.com. All right. So, on with our conversation for today. Hi, Nancy. Thanks for joining. We have, and I'm going to bring him to the stage. We have our Solicitor General, Mr. Charles Brooks, with us today. Okay. You can go ahead and unmute because I'm going to be honest with you. I did not know what a solicitor general was. I that might be a good thing, but we need to be educated about all offices, because you just never know when we have to make that phone call. So thank you for joining us tonight. I like for my conversations to add value to the
Mhm.
people that are taking the time to join us. So, but I always like to start with something that we have in common. We
Mhm.
have a few things in common. We're both HBCU grads. We'll
All
talk
right.
about that
Shout out
later.
to the
But one of the other
HBC.
things one of the other things that we have in common is that, they say former educators, but I think once you're an educator, you're always an educator. So tell people, how did you go from being what we consider a teacher to a lawyer? What was that process?
Um, well, I taught at Forest Park High School for a couple of years before being a lawyer. I taught overseas as well. Um, but I ended up, after graduating, I majored in history at Alabama State University. And there's only a couple of things you can do with a history degree. You go to law school, you can teach history, and you can go further for further education and do something more in history. But
So
I
did you know when you majored in history that you always wanted to go to law school?
Well, I always had an interest in law. I always had an interest. I
Okay.
didn't know when I would end up there, but eventually I knew I was going to end up going to law school at some point. But immediately after graduation, I actually go to school for urban planning, urban
Okay.
planning at Georgia State. But I got a call from my former vice principal at Forest Park, Dr. Benjamin Moore, who extended an invitation for me to come serve my alma mater, and I gladly accepted that invitation and returned to Forest Park High School, the school that I graduated from as an educator. And so that was kind of different because now some of the folks who had taught me were still at the school, and so
Yes.
that was an interesting transition, going from student to colleague. But it was fun, and I did that a
I
couple of
know they
years.
were proud.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. It was interesting. Nonetheless, did that for a couple of years. At the time that I was at Forest Park, the school was going through a lot of transition. I had a lot of students who were getting caught up in the criminal justice system.
Mm.
We lost a student to violence, street violence, and other students were getting involved in other ways. And so, because of the instability in the school, I decided I wanted to continue teaching, but I moved overseas and taught overseas for a couple of years as well. Came back and actually, while overseas, moved to Japan. While overseas, decided to take the bar, or excuse me, take the law school admission test from Tokyo,
Oh,
and
okay.
got accepted in University of Georgia School of Law. Returned and started in the district attorney's office as an intern in the Clayton County District Attorney's Office. And funnily enough, one of the first cases that I saw when I was in the Clayton County District Attorney's Office was a case involving one of my former students.
No.
Yeah, and so basically, there was a young lady named Crystal Williams who was murdered at a party. It was a drive-by. Um,
Mm.
other students were involved in that drive-by, and like I said, one of the first cases that I saw in the district attorney's office when I got there was those students were going to trial, and so it was a complete full circle to see it
Yeah.
from teacher to now intern prosecutor.
Yeah.
Um, after after the internship, ultimately and graduating, I ultimately started in the district attorney's full time assistant district attorney, and later on transitioned into the solicitor's office.
Oh, wow. That had to be pretty devastating too.
Yeah,
Because I know it's like, as a teacher, the one thing you just want to see all your kid, we call them our kids, be
yeah,
successful. So to
absolutely.
see them in that other light, I know even for the type of work that I do. And that's what I used to try to impart in our students too, is like, you got to really be careful about the decisions that you make, because um, even working in the insurance field, any financial services field, if
Yeah.
you have any type of record, it's going to inhibit what you can do in life.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's one of the reasons why we so heavily in the solicitor's office invest in our diversion programs, because the criminal record can, even a misdemeanor criminal
Hmm.
record can impact you. If you have a misdemeanor drug conviction, that can affect student financial aid. Um,
Oh,
oh, absolutely, absolutely. Federal aid can be canceled or suspended, or not even granted if you have a drug conviction, a misdemeanor drug conviction. It can affect your housing. It can affect your job opportunities. It can affect all sorts of things that under normal circumstances you would not think about until you're in the situation. And so that's why we really invest in our diversion program and encourage folks that if it's your first time uh, getting involved in the criminal justice system, because everybody makes mistakes.
yeah.
We do extend the opportunity to do our diversion program, which is a program. It's a second chance program, which basically you in some
Well, you
cases.
know what, Mr. Brooks, let's go back a second, because I don't know if we stated that you are a prosecutor,
Yeah.
like what exactly your office
Oh,
is.
not a problem, not a problem. So, all right, and so the running joke is most people think that the Solicitor General is a member of the military,
Oh,
like general, right? Some
uh-huh.
some folks give me the honorary of General Brooks, but the reality, I'm not in the military. Never been in the military. Although I do honor our service people for their sacrifice and commitment to serve our country.
Yes.
Uh, the Solicitor General's office is a prosecution office, but we prosecute misdemeanor offenses. And so there are two types of crimes that people are most familiar with. You have your felony offenses, and then you have your misdemeanor offenses. Your felony offenses are your more serious violations, more violent crimes are
Hmm.
often felonies. So if you think about murder, you think about aggravated assault, you think about rape, robbery, burglary. Those are all more serious offenses. But if you think about the lesser, or some people might say petty crimes, those are considered misdemeanor offenses. Shoplifting, misdemeanor marijuana possession, domestic, a large number of domestic violence falls under in the misdemeanor world.
Yeah.
DUI, all traffic is misdemeanors. And so if you think about criminal law as a whole, the large majority of criminal law is misdemeanors. And so when people interact with the criminal justice system, the large majority of people are going to be interact on the misdemeanor level more so than the felony level, because
Mhm.
most people have had the opportunity to get a ticket, and if you got a ticket, then you've been involved in you had some dealings with a solicitor somewhere, and so that's what we
So
do.
either
We
you
do.
paid the ticket or you decided to go to court. If you go to court, then we're going to stand on the other side of your seat.
That's right. And so in both in any event, our office, we prosecute the misdemeanors, and so on average we prosecute about 50,000 cases a year, half of
Oh,
which is
wow.
but even county ordinances. So we, quality of life offenses that happen so often, they claim littering as a misdemeanor. Um, um, you name the offense, more than likely it's probably going to be a misdemeanor unless it's one of those more serious violent offenses. And so
So your cases are really not the cases that make the 6 o'clock news.
no, no. Well, every once in a while, but on the generally no. These are the cases that annoy folks, the cases that affect folks mostly because, like I said, the quality of life offenses. Your
Hmm.
neighbor got grass too high, the disorderly house. That's a county ordinance, and if they want a trial, it's going to come to a solicitor's office.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So if it's a business violation, usually that's a county ordinance. If the business not keeping up with business licenses, that's a misdemeanor. And so, like I said, the large majority of criminal law is misdemeanor law, and so that's where we do our business. When you think about in terms of misdemeanors, misdemeanor offenses are anything that a person can be sentenced from 12 months, or excuse me, from nothing to up to 12 months.
Okay.
So you get a fine up to $1,000, from zero up to $1,000, and from, like, if you're talking about jail time, from no days to up to 12 months in custody. But anything over 12 months will be a felony. Anything over $1,000 fine would be a felony.
All right.
Generally speaking.
So tell me a little bit more about your diversion program.
So we have a pre-trial diversion program, a second chance program, where basically first-time offenders or people with little to no history, youthful offenders, if as we're reviewing the criminal history, if we observe that they have no history or little to no history, we will refer them to our pre-trial diversion program. There are certain criteria that they will have to meet, as far as like the type of offense. For example, we don't accept intimate partner violence into pretrial diversion. That's your domestic violence cases.
Mm-hmm.
And there are certain other types of offenses. For example, truck drivers are not allowed into pretrial diversion for various reasons. But if they meet the criteria, we will refer them to the program. They will meet with the program coordinator, and there's an administrative fee. The fee is about $525. That administrative fee covers the cost of courses, because there are certain courses that are assigned depending on the offense. So if it's, for example, if it's a theft by shoplifting, we may have you doing theft prevention courses, alternatives to theft. There's a certain amount of community service that may be assigned, and other components that are assigned by the coordinator. After they complete the conditions of the program, and the program is about 90 days roughly. After they complete the conditions of the program, then the case is dismissed. And
Okay.
and
It won't show up on their record.
and that's what's just about the record of the arrest is called is people know it as expunged, but we restrict the record.
Okay.
So it can be seen by employers.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. So do you find that a lot of the do you handle you don't you your cases are all like 17 and over?
Yeah, yes. If it's a juvenile, then it will go to juvenile court, and the district attorney's office handle juvenile offenses.
So but does yours start at 17 or 18?
17.
17.
Yeah.
So you're an adult at 17?
Well, depending on the offense, a person as young as I think the law allows for 10, but generally 13 is where, depending on the offense, but that's usually on the felony side of the matter. If it's a 7 deadly offense, then they can be charged depending on the severity of the crime.
Oh, wow. During this time, we've noticed that, inflation is high, and well, it's not high. It's trying to go down, but
it's high.
Food is extremely high, things like that. Have you seen, like, is there an uptick in theft, or is it about the same as like before the pandemic?
During the pandemic, the increase in offenses that we saw were domestic violence, and I think that was a lot to do with folks being sheltered in. I'll also say this: during the pandemic, I think people forgot how to drive, because it's a lot more aggressive driving.
Yes, I've noticed the driving is a lot more aggressive.
It's maybe because the roadways were a lot more clear. People drive as if they are the only people on the road, and we see that in how as it plays out in our cases. But during the pandemic and even now, we see more domestic violence and aggressive driving offenses. Shoplifting, I can't say that I've seen an uptick in shoplifting. It's probably is about average where I put it.
And far as the domestic violence, we've all noticed that, unfortunately, we had one of our officers to lose his life reporting to a domestic violence situation. What I know we had Ms. Vita on last week. She gave a lot of great information about domestic violence, but from your side, what are you seeing in court that may help our audience with these types of cases?
Well, I'll say this. I think the problem with domestic violence is there's an expression they use that people suffer in silence. Um, Domestic
Mhm.
violence is one of those things that is very taboo. And so you may have a person that you work with. It may be even a family member. They may be experiencing some level of domestic violence, but they don't talk about it. They don't
Mhm.
share. You become aware of it because you see signs. You see this. You see bruises. You see that how they interact with you is different. A lot of times with domestic violence, and this happens in court, most of the times our victims who are um, who suffer from domestic violence are not interested in going forward with the cases. They recant for various reasons. Sometimes it's financial reasons. Sometimes it's general fear. Sometimes it's because they want to keep their family unit together, even if it's a toxic family unit. But you want to keep mom and dad in the same house.
Well,
Um, for, for,
Miss Vita said over 90% of the times it's financial.
Mhm. And there's a dependency that's set up. Domestic violence oftentimes is related to the power and control dynamic. And so
Yep.
if I am the breadwinner, or even if I'm not the breadwinner, you're the breadwinner, but you bring the money home to me, and I control how you spend that money, then that's a form of control and power and dominance. And so with domestic violence, even before it explodes into the actual physical violence, there are things that happen that get before you even get to the physical violence. There's a buildup, there's an escalation, and that usually the violence that we see in court or the cases that we handle in court is because of the apex, the actual violence. But there's a tension that's building up, and then after that tension, after they call the police, there's a honeymoon stage. I'm
Mm.
sorry, I really didn't mean to do that. I really don't know what happened, what happened to me. And that's where the cycle starts all over. The unfortunate part for us is that once you call the police, once you invite the police into your home to deal with a situation that you, by your own account, could not deal with, that's the reason you call 911, then we're going to deal with it. And so that's not always what victims of domestic violence want to do. There's been situations where we've um, had to prosecute cases in a way that was unpleasing to victims of domestic violence, but because of history, because of the person's history, we felt like it was necessary. Because sometimes, and courts can be this way sometimes. Courts can be what's called paternal, meaning that act in a parental way. Because you can't look
Mhm.
out for yourself, we're going to try to look out for you in the way that you can,
Yeah.
or that you won't. Now, that's not always good because in some cases it is a situation where it's just
It
an
may give the victim enough time to get out of the situation.
and in some cases it's a one-off situation, but in every case that we touch, we take every case seriously, whether it's a one-off or it's a multiple uh, a history or a pattern.
Okay,
We
what do you mean by one off?
Meaning that this instance of domestic violence had never happened before,
Before.
and it
Okay.
never happened since that time. We
Okay.
treat them the same because we never know the consequences of that one-off might be somebody dying.
Yeah.
Versus even if it's a one-off or if it's a pattern, we are going to deal with the situation. And
That's
so,
good because you want people that's going to take every case seriously
oh,
as if,
absolutely,
they're your own family member.
absolutely. With as it relates to office resources and investment, we invest the most resources in our domestic violence cases, in our driving under the influence cases, DUI cases, because those are the cases where people could die. The
Yeah.
fatalities are the result of the ultimate result, and so we take them very seriously, and we don't play with which ones to prosecute, which ones not to prosecute.
I got you. Back to the diversion program, and we know this is not for our domestic violence cases, but
Mhm.
Nancy wanted to know how many people typically qualify or benefit from the program, if you know, like even on a yearly basis
Well,
or a percentage.
we do a calendar. We do an orientation every Tuesday of the month, every first Tuesday of the month. And on average, those calendars can range anywhere from 50 people up to, I think, 200, 250 people. So 12 months, 200, you're talking about maybe 2,400 a year.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
Now that's on the high end. On the low end, and
Hmm.
it depends on their means to be able to enter into the program as well. We do have opportunities where we can grant scholarships to certain folks, depending on their financial means and whether or not they meet certain criteria. But the large majority of folks are able to pay into the program.
Okay. And do you find that once they finish the program, they don't return?
The recidivism rate. That's the
Yeah.
point of the program as well, because those courses that I mentioned earlier are intended to give you alternatives, so you don't end up back here. And
Yeah.
every month that we do orientation, I tell the folks that go to the orientation, I tell them, my name is Charles Brooks. I'm Solicitor General here, and I hope not to ever meet you here ever again.
Exactly.
Because I hate meeting people in court. I much
Yeah.
rather meet you in the community than meet you
Yeah,
in
well,
court. You're
look,
not here
let's
because you
see
want to
let's see you at the trunk or treat.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. If I'm meeting you in court, you're not here because you want to be here. You're here because
Yeah.
you're required to be here.
I would say you have one of those jobs that is really some strong emotions. Either people really,
Mhm.
really like you or they really, really don't. So it's
That's
kind of like
exactly
still being a teacher.
yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, unfortunately, I kind of treat the courthouse as people treat the hospital. Either you're going for a good reason or you're going for a bad reason. But most
Listen,
it's one or the other. You're going to get married or you're going to deal with a criminal case. I mean, it's something.
yes, yes. Now, what I didn't realize also is that when you all go to trial, you have jury trials.
Oh yeah.
So, what makes a good juror?
Oh, that is a tough question. A good no, you know what? It's not a tough question. A good juror is a person who is fair-minded, who honestly is seeking the truth. Now, if you are a person who has an axe to grind, then you will not be a good juror. And like seriously, if you got some type of vendetta, you feel like this system is set up where it cannot operate fairly, then you're probably not going to be a good juror. The reality is good. What makes the system fair is the people. And
Yeah.
so if you are an unfair person, then it's going to be an unfair system. And so if you're a person who is fair-minded, who is honestly just looking at the facts, just looking at the facts, then you're probably going to be a good juror. And what I mean by that also is, so you got two thoughts of mine as it comes to the jury selection process. Some people say that when you go to the jury selection that you're looking to pick a jury. Other people say you're looking to exclude jurors. Um,
Oh,
I
okay.
kind of, I kind of lean towards the latter, that you're looking to exclude jurors, because I'm looking to exclude the folks who are not going to be fair to the process and not fair to the state, not fair to the defendant, and not fair to the process.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I want people who are going to put everybody on a level playing field, and however the cards fall, let it be. But if you're already coming in with your mind already made up, I don't want you as a juror. You're not gonna
Yeah,
be a
either
good juror.
one way or the other, because
Yeah.
like as parents, you just want to see the good. You just want to see the good, especially
Mhm.
with moms. It's like, oh, he just had a bad day that day, but we're not gonna. So you need somebody that's gonna be fair-minded and look at the whole case and not come in with a particular. But it's kind of hard because everybody has a different
You
set of
you
lens that they
you
look through.
you absolutely have life experiences, and nobody is will ask you to exclude your life experiences from your mind.
Mhm.
But with those life experiences, you can't always let that shade the outcome of a case, because if the facts tell you one thing as they are presented, then you lean on the facts and you lean on the law. What happens is the judges give you the law, the attorneys will give you whatever the facts are, and you have to marry the two together to see what the outcome is. If it's a guilty or if it's a not guilty. In most cases, prosecutors are not going to be offended if it's a not guilty, because we just didn't have the evidence to prove the case. Now, every case that's presented, we believe that there's sufficient evidence for you to come to a guilty verdict. But if you come back not guilty, the prosecutor's not going to hold that against you. Prosecutor's probably going to want to talk to you to ask you, what more were you looking for to strengthen our case? Because at the end of the day, I live in this county. I live in this community. And so the outcome of these cases directly affect me and my family.
Yes,
and so
all of us.
The cases I take to trial are the cases that I believe are unacceptable in my community. And for me, I'm looking for a guilty outcome, because I want to send the message that this is not acceptable behavior in our community and this must change.
Yeah. So there has to be, we got to start having some consequences. You could have a bad day, but there's got to be some consequences sometimes to deter that behavior.
And let me say this: a lot of folks, they get caught up on the consequences. The judge will tell you that you're not to concern yourself with the outcome, just whether or not there's the question of guilt or the question of not guilty. Is there sufficient evidence for the person to be found guilty or not guilty? Now, you don't concern yourself with sentencing, because whereas you may be thinking, well, this person, they might go to jail for 12 months. The reality, that's really up to the judge, the sentence.
Gotcha.
They might just get a fine. We don't know what the outcome is. The outcome is going to be, and that's not something that a juror should be concerned themselves with. They should concern themselves with the question that's before them. Is there evidence to say that this person is guilty, or is there not enough evidence and that this person is not guilty?
Now I got another question for you. How do you think law shows on TV, do they help you?
It's terrible. It's terrible. They're terrible. They're absolutely terrible.
So you're telling people when they come to court, do not think about what you saw on Law and Order.
There's a movie out right now with Jamie Foxx where he's been Willie Gary.
Yes.
On Netflix or Prime or something. And it's a good movie. It's entertaining. And some of it may be factually true, but please do not wrap your mind that this is that he's a civil attorney.
Yeah.
Doing lawsuits for money. But in criminal cases is not about money. It's not about money. It's about whether or not somebody was injured or a law was violated. And in the law shows, like I said, I like Law and Order. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Law and Order. But it don't happen in an hour. And the techniques and methods that they use on TV are for TV and entertainment purposes.
for entertainment only.
Look, everybody in the solicitor's office does not look like models. We don't have offices with glass walls that you can write your theory of the case up, and we got all this technology where we can overlay stuff. We work for the government, and it's not nearly as glamorous as it's presented on TV.
Yes.
In some cases, I'll give you even I'll break it down for you. Break it down even further. Okay, not every agency in Clayton County has body cameras on their vehicles, or on their person. Some agencies don't have dash cams in their cars. It depends on the means of that particular county or area, and whether or not they can afford it, whether or not the voters support that enough where taxes can be raised to pay for that type of technology. And so where there may be an expectation for a thing, if the community cannot afford that thing would not be presented in court.
So you will have like, well, you all need to just show us a picture, or where's the film, where's the video?
We want to. But we also tasked and charged. We don't create evidence. We give you what we have. Now I'll say this too. Sometimes the law prevents us from giving you everything that we have. and there may be more things in the file that we can't present to a juror, to a jury or
Yeah.
jury. And this is one that's just the way the law is set up. But what we give you, we believe is sufficient for you to make a decision. Whether
And
that
that, but that's
decision
kind
is
of like when people have their biases. If there's not a video, and you have someone, you have a juror that has no trust for law
Mhm.
enforcement at all, and the person is up there testifying, this is what happened, but they don't, then that, you're kind of like stuck.
Look, there was a world before body cam. There was a world before video, and
Hmm.
the reality is that this is a harsh reality. A video is only as good as the person who takes the video, right? Videos,
Hmm.
they can be edited, they can be altered, but live testimony, you get to ask questions of the person, you get to examine how they testify, you get to see them in person to see whether or not you feel like they are being untruthful. You can examine whether or not the story that they're telling, or the incident that they're telling, if it makes sense. You get
Hmm.
to see them up front. And so to me, I rather live testimony over video evidence. Now, challenge with that is whether or not people are being honest, and that's just one of those things that you just got to examine. Like I say, you examine their body language, you examine the whole body of evidence. But if you asking me what I'm going to put up, if I have body camera, I'm going to put it up. If I got
Yeah.
live testimony, I'm going to put it up. I'm going to give you everything that I can, that I'm allowed to. I'll give it to you. But if I don't have it, don't hold it against me, because I want to give you what I don't have.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that I think that's like a really, really good point that you just made there. That you want to give everything that you have, but whatever you give, please evaluate it to the fullest
Mhm.
extent and don't just brush it off.
Yes, ma'am.
That is awesome. So, on a lighter note, oh my gosh, talking to a prosecutor, woo wee, this is not one of my fun conversations. I'm gonna be
Like I
honest
said,
with you.
it's like going to the hospital.
Woo! Goodness gracious. But like I said, I did not know what a solicitor general was. And I'm hoping that our community does know now that you are a prosecutor of people that are accused of misdemeanor crimes. And it can go from 0 days in jail up to 12 months. And the fines can be, what's the range of the fines?
Up to $1,000 in
Up
fines.
to $1,000. But we're going to hope that we only see you at community events.
Absolutely. And let me put a pin on that point.
Uh-huh.
I'm a misdemeanor prosecutor, but a lot of our efforts happen outside of the courthouse. Like I said, my,
Yes.
my goal is never to meet somebody in court. Our office, we got 4 pillars that stand our office up. That's community first, integrity
Hmm.
matters, fairness always, and competence plus. And that first pillar, community first, is something that we invest very heavily in. We
Yes, you
we
do.
we try to, because we understand that, one, we are members of this community, but we also, our community will never change if we don't do this together. A prosecution office cannot change a community by itself. It takes the community to change the community. And so, the goal of our office is to be the catalyst for transformation, to address crime when it's at the lowest level so that it doesn't escalate to the highest level. And so if we can catch this stuff while it's minor, while it's petty, then we don't have to address it in superior court when it's a felony,
Yeah.
because we addressed it, and we gave tools to not have to be here again. And so, we do things like this conversation, this community conversation is one of the things that we do often. We go out, we talk to the community, we let them know the work that we do, why we do it, how do we end up here. We host things, like, for example, we have a we're partnering with Sisters Empowerment Network, for a domestic violence 5K, walk a mile in her shoes. That's this Saturday.
This
Um,
Saturday.
October 31st, we are hosting a trunk or treat in front of the Clayton County Courthouse. We are partnering with the Clayton County Sheriff's Department, Sheriff Levon Allen. We've partnered with different members of the school board to do
Back
programs.
to school.
We do back to school. We've done something called Books Over Bullets. We've done anti-violence town halls. We've done anti-violence video competition. We do a number of things to partner with our community to let them know that we don't want to meet you in court. I don't want to see anybody in court. Don't.
Yeah.
But the reality is that at some point I might, and I hope that when I see you in court that I met you in the community first, and you know that this work that I'm doing, I'm going to treat you fairly.
Yes,
I'm going to
fair.
be kind to you, and I might be firm, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to be unfair to you, or I'm not going to do you wrong, and I'm not going to let the justice system mistreat you.
And that's one of the things that we can say about Clayton County, which makes Clayton County like a unicorn compared to other counties, is that, I know whenever I interact with county employees and things like that, I do feel that everybody is here for our best interests, and that you will get what they say, a fair trial or fair shake here in Clayton County, which may not happen everywhere else. So one of the reasons that we love our county. And Nancy wanted to say, she wanted to remind you about, you're out there for career day also.
I do a lot of career days. In fact, we partner with Goodwill Career Center and done some talks with Goodwill Career Center as well. So the folks over in Riverdale, we I think there's a candy mania that's happening in Riverdale. We'll be there as well. So there's a number of events that we participate in. The Road on the Show that's coming up October 26th. Number of things.
At South Lake, right?
Yes, South Lake Mall. We do that because, like I said, we don't want to meet you in court. We much rather meet you in the community.
Awesome. Nancy said, see you there.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for your time. Your evenings, I know, are precious, and I just really appreciate, and I know this is an extension of what you do all over the community anyway. So I hope anybody that didn't know what the Solicitor General's office did, now you do, and they can reach out to partner with you with some of your community events. Yes, and things like that. And just know, if you have anyone that ends up in front of you in court, that they're going to be treated fairly.
We, if you are interested in following the work that we do in the Solicitor's office right now, our social media handles are CB Solicitor General. That's Facebook and Instagram.
And follow him, guys.
Follow us. We hope that our website goes live in December. It should be an interactive website that'll give you an opportunity to see some of the things that we've done in the community, as well as get more information about court and court processes. Working with Miss Funny on another project that we're going to roll out, hopefully at the beginning of next year, beginning or middle part of next year, that we hope will be beneficial to our jury.
Very exciting.
So there's
take us back to our roots.
Oh, absolutely. There's a number of different things that we have in the works that we're going to be rolling out on behalf of the office and on behalf of the citizens of Clayton County. Hopefully, it's something that is good for our county and good for us.
Absolutely. Thank you again for joining me tonight, and I know I will see you in the community.
Yes, ma'am. Like I said, we hope to see everyone at the 5K, which is this Saturday, 8 o'clock at National Park, and we also hope that you bring your kids out to the trunk or treat October 31st, Tuesday, 6 o'clock, in front of the Clayton County Courthouse. With the trunk or treat, we're going to have a number of vendors. I think we have up to about 60 vendors, to include several food trucks. We got horses, you name it, we got them out there.
And the kids are going to have more candy than they know what to do with. That's the only thing about this time of the year. I'm like, give me those candy bags. They be all up in the kids' rooms, candy wrappers all over the house.
Good fun.
Let's make a dinner appointment right after this time of the year.
Good fun. It's gonna be a good time. We got a DJ and everything. So come out, have fun. It's going to be a safe environment as well.
Absolutely. And I'll be there with my trunk giving out treats.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Now, informally, we didn't advertise, but we are doing a little competition about who decorates the best. It's going to be a people's choice. So I'm telling you, gonna dress it up pretty good.
Look, I'm gonna tell you right now, mine is gonna be so basic. You're gonna be like, really, really, Miss Funny? Yes, really. So I'll let somebody else have that one.
We'll take it. We'll take it for you.
Yeah, here for the children, here for the babies.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Miss Shirley Davis said, thank you for the conversation. She said, having previously served as a civil, criminal, and grand juror, she hopes to see you outside of the courtroom. And Nancy also said, great conversation. And thank you. I have never been picked as a juror. I actually want to be picked. I'm like, wait a minute, how does this happen?
If you want to be picked, they probably won't pick you. Because you're too involved, too vested. Honestly, I've only been selected one time, and that was when I first had the opportunity to become a juror. I was 18 years old.
Wow. In other cities, I have been selected, but since I've been here now, Mr. Funny, they must like him because it's like every time I turn around, he talking about he got jury duty.
That is funny. That is funny. And the roles are really interesting. They used to just pull off voter rolls. Now they pull off licenses, and I think it's another method they pull for to make the jury pool. And so it's just the way it falls. Some people get more than others.
I keep looking for it. Now I think I'm gonna get picked one time. You're like, no, I got something going on. I'll be picked election day or something crazy. Like, no, can't do this one. Try me again later. But thank you. You have a wonderful evening. I'm gonna do my little closing.
Yes, ma'am.
But definitely see you on Saturday with those running shoes on.
Yes, ma'am. And thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. Again, you can follow us on CB Solicitor Journal. That's Facebook and Instagram, and I think Twitter is the same handle as well. Thank you.
You still use Twitter? Okay.
Well, what they call X. I'm sorry, X.
Take care. So everyone, we now know what the Solicitor General Office does. And boy, was that a wealth of great information. Now, I need you all to do something for me too. Please go to my group, Aging Funny Community Conversations, and sign up for the group. Okay, that's what I need you all to do. And like I said, I am Tanya Jean Funny, your audacious advocate, and I use my love for learning and passion for community engagement to empower families. You all have a wonderful evening, and I will see you next Wednesday. Good night.